Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole or r/Aita. Aita for throwing out a bike that was locked to my fence. This happened recently, and though I believe I am on the right side here, my family thinks I'm a complete jerk for doing this, and my neighbors alike. My girlfriend and I recently purchased a house in a somewhat nice neighborhood. Relatively new house, nice neighbors, and whatnot. Now, here comes the problem. The house has a metal fence out front that is cemented into the ground, which makes it ideal for kids and adults to lock their bike to. This has happened a couple of times, and in response to that, we purchased a small sign that said something like, "Bikes chained to this fence will be removed." Not exactly a giant sign, but it definitely is visible if you're close enough to chain your bike to the fence. It's not exactly hidden, but since we like a nice house and yard, it's discreet and not a giant red triangle. So after dealing with a few people missing the sign, since it hasn't been there before, it got better for a while. By dealing with it, I mean that I, at first, started to place small notes on the few bikes that seemed to be regulars to kindly stop chaining their bikes to the fence. No bikes chained to the fence for a while. I assumed that word got around and that was the final bike chained to our fence. About 3 weeks later, I see one of the bikes I've seen before chained to the fence again. Now, I don't strictly remember placing a note on this particular bike previously and warning them, but I decided to remove the bike. I kept it for approximately 3 full days to see if the owner would show up. It wasn't exactly a new bike. Nice bike and functioning as it should, but definitely not a new one. Maybe $200 used or something like that. Since I didn't have the space for it and just wanted to get rid of it, I put it up on our country's version of Craigslist for free to give another person some joy. After a week, some parent and their kid came over to my house and asked where the kid's bike was. Of course, I said that I gave it away since it was locked to my fence, clearly stating that bikes chained to the fence would be removed. I stated that I kept the bike for 3 days and that should have been acceptable enough for them to pick it up. If they did, all they would have to do was to purchase a new lock. The parent went completely insane and threatened me that a lawsuit would be on my way if I didn't pay them for the bike, and stated that they were busy and didn't have time to get the bike, and that I should have kept the bike for longer. My house is like 500 meters from their house, so that seemed unlikely to me. I told them that I wouldn't pay for it and that they should continue with a lawsuit since I wouldn't be paying them. Aita? So obviously, it's 100% in my opinion, their right to be able to say, hey, like, this is our stuff, you can't just chain your bike to it. And I could see, like, cutting the lock off and detaching it from their fence, maybe removing it from their property. I do think that giving it away to someone themselves does put them at some sort of liability, just because now they've actively done something like kind of extra, I guess, to the bike. They did wait for 3 days though. I don't understand how you have your bike chained to someone else's fence for 3 whole days and not like think about it. I don't get that, but I don't know. I think that it probably would have been better to like leave it off of your property, and you know, it's not your problem if someone, you know, grabs it. But I don't know. I get that, like, obviously they can't just store it for these people, and at the same time they did like keep it safe for 3 days in the case that they needed to come get it. But I don't know. I'm on the fence about the whole giving it away on their version of Craigslist. I don't think they have much of a standing for a lawsuit, but if they seriously pursue a lawsuit over that, that's probably going to cost more than it's worth. Anyway, I am interested in your thoughts on this one, so let me know in the comments below. Aita for cursing out my family for making fun of me. For context, I'm extremely close with my family and extended relatives. My mother has 7 siblings and my father has 4. This means I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins. I've grown up with all of these people for the past 18 years, but I can't put up any more with the constant teasing and ridicule from people I thought would accept me. What are they cracking jokes about? My height. Most of the men in my family are at least 6 foot. Even most of my female cousins are above 5'5". Meanwhile, I'm only 5'7", despite my mom being 5'6" and my dad being 6'3". Everyone expected me to have an insane growth spurt in high school, but I haven't grown much since 8th grade. Now, all they do is find ways to make me feel bad about it. My cousins always bring out mailman jokes, and even my aunts and uncles partake in the fun. I have even heard the words beta C and B-boy on a few occasions from my cousins in private. This has obviously made me feel very insecure about my height growing up. I just don't understand why they overlook my positives. I do well academically in college, currently pre-dental, was voted class clown in high school, play the piano, and have fun hobbies like kayaking and mountain biking. I just don't understand why they're so fixating on one freaking measurement. None of my friends from college or high school even bring up my height. They didn't even know I was insecure about it until I told them about my family. Anyway, as you can guess, I basically have no self-confidence, especially with women. The idea of being inferior is something I think about a lot. I feel unworthy of women, and even the thought of approaching them makes me upset. Last week, the entire family met up to celebrate my grandmother's birthday. We started to take pictures to commemorate the day. We took a picture of just the guys, and the first thing pointed out was how short I was afterwards. One of my female cousins suggested that they just crop me out because it looked weird. Everyone started to laugh. I absolutely lost it. I was there to have a great time with my family and take the stress away from college midterms, but I couldn't stand being treated like that. I started to tear up and yelled at all of them. There were many swears and insults thrown around. I angrily left the party and drove back to my college. My cousins have tried reaching out to me since the incident, but I've ignored and blocked all of them. My mom called me the other day and said I was being an insensitive a-hole. She's blocked too now. Edit, as some of you have asked, I've tried telling them to quit with these jokes. However, they remind me it's just for fun and label me with a Napoleon complex. Edit 2. Since many of you suggested I could have a possible disorder, I'm going to get my growth plates x-rayed. I'm aware gaining a few inches may not fix my life, but it's one step closer to self-acceptance instead of hoping I magically grow to 6 foot. Thank you to everyone for the love and support. It means a lot in a time when I feel so alone and confused. Okay, so I will admit that from an outside point of view, if you were to say, like, I just flipped out at my family for making jokes about my height and, like, screamed at them and, like, freaked out and left and won't, like, talk to them anymore, I would think that that was kind of petty, I guess. But I get that, like, if that's something that they keep on going at after you've already talked to them about it and said, like, you know, this isn't something that's cool with me to be joking about. Like, I get it, it was funny at first, but, like, now it's getting old. And I think that is pretty it's a bit far to say, like, we're gonna crop you out of the family photo because you're short. Like, that's not funny. I don't think you're specifically an a-hole. I just wish things had gone down better, I guess. Aita for telling my wife she's being an a-hole about refusing to let my son have a spare bedroom in our new home. My son is 19 and lives with his mom. I hang out with him a lot, but since he turned 17 and 18, he stopped staying over at my and my wife's place since there's only one bedroom after we had to downsize due to financial loss. I'm 38, my wife is 33. We are now on our feet and are about to purchase a home with 3 bedrooms. My wife is pregnant, I had my son young, so that explains the huge age gap, and we obviously want bedroom 2 to be for baby. I wanted bedroom 3 to be for my son, she wants bedroom 3 to be a guest bedroom for when her sisters, etc. come to visit. Now the huge argument is my son is likely to want to stay pretty much often with us since he's not financially on his feet. I have zero issue with that, but my wife is absolutely fuming and hates the idea. She is telling me he's a grown adult and he should not have a bedroom here, especially because he is a gamer, and an old complaint is he's not tidy enough for her. I told her she was being difficult and he's my son. I want him to always have a place in my home. She's saying that she's not saying he doesn't have a place, but rather he doesn't have an excuse for free room and board. She said I was being an a-hole. I said I thought she was being the same. Oh, yikes. See, this is like one of those things with very mixed families, like people coming from different marriages and different partners and different things like that, because it's harder for someone who is not blood related to your child to feel the same kind of empathy that you do for them. Maybe everybody sucks here is the right answer for the particular argument. Aita for not handing over my gift when I realized I wasn't a part of the actual party. So my friend had a big party for her 21st. A lot of people were invited. It was at a country club that honestly had kind of a small interior. The outside was very spacious though, with a deck and lots of seating. It was a very big deal. She had a guest check-in and security, and there was a dress code. I spent 2 hours getting ready because it was supposed to be very fancy. When I arrived with my friends, we went to the doorway to check in. After that, the security told us to wait on the deck and they'll come get us. We couldn't see inside, so we assumed everyone was there. When we got to the deck, there were quite a lot of people. We were about 10 minutes early, so we didn't worry too much about what was going on inside yet. After 7 p.m., the start of the party, my friends and I started getting a little suspicious. We asked around about where everyone else is and where the actual birthday girl is. We found out that the party actually started at 6 p.m. and that everyone outside was like second level guests. We had to wait until everyone inside was done eating to come in. We were not made aware that there was a difference between us and everyone else who was invited. She didn't specifically state that we would be inside the country club eating with everyone, but she never said anything about coming later than other guests and having to wait until they're done to even be allowed inside. Barely anyone knew unless they found out from other people who were invited to the main party. I was honestly offended. We had to wait outside in the dark until her more important guests were done eating. When we finally went inside, we just stood there while everyone else was seated at reserved tables. We watched her and her mother and father do a special dance, and then everyone just talked. And we weren't offered any drinks or food. My gift to her was a $50 gift card to her favorite store. My money is hardly expendable, but I wanted to give her something nice because I thought we were better friends than that. Eventually, her mother said, "The gift table can be found near the restrooms," to everyone that came inside after being on the deck. My friend and I decided to keep our gifts. We figured, why the heck should we give her these expensive gifts when we were barely treated as guests? It felt like a cash grab to invite all of those extra people who didn't even have a place to sit unless it was outside. We ended up leaving early because it felt so ridiculous. Everyone else was allowed to get cake and more food, and we were told if there were leftovers, we could have some after they were done. I feel like maybe it's my fault for getting my hopes up. She never said we would have the treatment the other guests got, but I felt like it was super rude to just have us stand around and watch everyone enjoy themselves. Why even bother inviting all of us? Wow, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of like a party where there were like VIP guests. Like, these are my actual friends. Of course, family, but like, I could maybe understand certain people could go first, but not like you have to wait for them to finish their complete food and like as guests you have to maybe get the leftovers. That's insane. Yeah, that's just gross. So keep your $50 gift card, enjoy it. That's yikes. At least you know what kind of person she is now, so there's that. Would I be the a-hole if I take over planning my funeral from my very religious parents? TLDR at the bottom. Hello all. Well, if it isn't obvious already from the title, I am dying. I don't feel the details are super relevant to the issue at hand, but for those who are curious about my ultimate demise, I have cystic fibrosis, and after 2 rejected lung transplants, I've been told there isn't anything else they can do except keep me comfortable in my last few weeks. I've begun my preparations for my funeral and such, and while I was thinking it would be a breath of fresh air in this whirlwind of death, I could not have been more wrong. Now, onto the title. My parents are both strict Southern Baptists and want a very traditional funeral. This includes hymns to be sung during the memorial, a casket and graveside service, a viewing, countless prayers during the memorial, scripture to be read, etc. My issue with this is, well, everything. I am the complete opposite of my parents. Not religious, curse like a sailor, drink like the Irish, you name it. Everything they are wanting and attempting to plan is not me as a person. I've somehow made it to 25 and managed to meet the man of my dreams and marry him last year, and he is torn. He wants me to have it exactly as I want. He just doesn't want to have to deal with my parents after the fact while actively grieving. I have 2 siblings, one of which is a clone of my parents, and one that is a mixture of my parents and myself. I want my service to be one full of laughter, funny stories and pictures, upbeat music, cats. My husband and I are avid cat lovers. I want confetti and stuff, but more importantly, I want to be cremated and put in a freaking cat-shaped urn. I told my husband I wanted my ashes to be handed out like party favors, so my family and friends can take me with them because I love to travel, and he looked horrified. My parents are absolutely not on board and are essentially planning everything how they want. Attempting to take me shopping for a casket, flowers, picking out hymns and verses, the whole deal. I'm obviously not very pleased. So, I guess my question would be, would I be the a-hole if I took control of my own funeral and wrote a will to be followed exactly how I want it? I understand my parents are grieving, and I've tried to compromise with a mixture of both my views and theirs, but they aren't having it. I never thought dying would be so freaking stressful, and I just want to enjoy what time I have left without leaving a bomb of emotion and disappointment behind. Please help. TLDR, I am dying and my parents want to plan a funeral that isn't me as a person. Edit. I should clarify the ashes is party favors thing. I want my closest friends and family to go home with a vial or something of the sort of my ashes. That way they could do with them as they please. Not everyone will get a piece of me, as strange as that sounds. Second edit. Holy crap. I was not expecting this. Thank you. Seriously. I have read every comment and I wish I could reply to every single one. That is the goal. So please be patient with me. Thank you to everyone for the kind words and messages. It's been so overwhelming, and if I were a cat, I would be making biscuits and purring until I keeled over. I'm writing down everything that I want and will be approaching my parents in order to find a compromise. Yes, funerals are for the living and being able to remember that person for who they were. I am not all of the things my parents wanted me to be, and I want them to understand this as they deal with my passing. I am willing to compromise, so wish me luck. I will attempt to keep up with everything, and as lame as this sounds, I am off living my best life and trying to do something different every day. So I won't always have my phone. Tomorrow we are traveling to the freaking Everglades so I can watch my husband be terrified while on an airboat. It's going to be awesome. So as this person kind of indicates from their last edit, it does look like they're going to come to kind of write out a compromise. And I think that's really the best option here. Even if the parents don't want to compromise, to kind of work on some things that they're both good on and then write that down as like part of her will or whatnot, because that way they can't, you know, stress out the husband when she passes and everything like that. So wow, that's really rough. I had a friend who passed in 7th grade from cystic fibrosis, so it is pretty much a miracle to reach 25 from my understanding with that. And I'm glad that, you know, they have such a good outlook, as positive as you can about having to leave this earth on, you know, not on your terms, but knowing like that's got to be really strange. And I hope all the best for them and their families, and I hope everyone will have a good memory of this person in their life, and that it just wouldn't be strife with the funeral. Anyway, that is actually going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And really quickly, I would like to thank my patrons. Up on the screen, you'll see my face palmers and my crazy K's. Thank you all so much for supporting me in that way. If you're interested in becoming a patron, seeing the original post from what we talked about in this video, or possibly contacting me via email, for inclusion in a future video. All of that information is in the description box, so be sure to check that out. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!